Aloha. What do we got? Tuesday night, December 23rd. So just got back from the company Christmas party in San Diego, California. Classy move, man. Everybody got their own rental car, their own room. And then pretty much while there, they had things, little get-togethers, but nobody was like, you need to be at anything. So I went to like a meet and greet Saturday morning and the actual company Christmas party. But other than that, I just did my own thing the whole time. I can tell you, California is a cool fucking place. To me, it's the ultimate United State. Not that they're united or anything, but just it kind of, all the East Coast is still just got the old blood thing going and stuff. The European influence is strong and all that jazz. And it's just the oldest part of the country. And then California became a state, when we were a country, and that was a place where people could go and reinvent themselves, Hollywood obviously being the best example or most obvious example. But in any way, it was just where you went to take a risk, the 49er, the gold rush, and, the hippies and stuff. Not that it's not the best example, but there's just a different vibe there. It's a vibe of, yeah, we'll try this, a lot of their wacky laws and stuff. It's like, yeah, you know what? But we're going to give it a shot. And a lot of them are dumb or unrealistic in the real world, or just, set up to be taken advantage of by scumbags, essentially. But then this little rascal here, him and his brother are in heat. I got to get them fixed. Not as bad as a girl cat, but there's a lot of... Right, buddy? I think he's first. This is Donald. His brother, they're born... Pretty cool. They were born August 29th and August 30th. Like, it was right at midnight. So they were literally, officially... And I believe his older brother, Zigaboo, the all-black cat, is the 29th. And I believe Donald is the 30th. They had a brother who I thought was fine, and I put them all down and just went into the other room to let mommy do her thing, and I came back, and one of them was, I don't know if she rolled over on him or what, or if he, I don't know. No way of knowing, really. So it was just these two. And I brought them all the way up to Massachusetts and showed them off, and, everybody was like, ooh, but nobody really wanted them. No, I'm glad I have them. They're two good cats. Never have growled at me or swatted at me ever for anything. And that's no exaggeration. Especially Zigaboo. He is the coolest. He is the cuke, as I like to call him. The cucumber. Cool as. But back to recounting our California. So that was... So I had it scoped out, before I went, I started researching, I was planning on getting an ukulele just so I could say I got one in San Diego sort of thing, but then I started, investigating some of the boutique shops or, there's a couple ukulele specific because you got a strong Pacific Islander influence in the left coast. A lot of people live there, and bands from Hawaii actually tour there somewhat regularly, but they don't go any further than that. But they were all just, I was looking to spend around $300, $400 at the most. And so I ended up at Guitar Center in San Isidro, which is basically the last. I got on I-5 when I got my rental car, and it was there's literally a sign that says last exit in California. I can't remember if it said California or USA. It'll be up. I'll be putting a video. I videoed it. It's cool. You're on I-5, which runs all the way up to Washington, the border, I believe, and probably keeps going. But you come over this hill, and it's a good 4-lane highway, and you're going down like a little hill, And you look across, and there's a hill with houses in every inch, and that's Tijuana. So then I get there. I go to there's like it was like a shopping complex, the modern day one, not a mall, but all the stores next to each other. You walk, outside entrances. And I, of course, I also researched the dispensary, so I went to Off the Charts, which was right there, actually facing Mexico, and just bought a few joints. That was all. And yeah, and if you're a big enough asshole where, I'm just being honest about what I did and just pretty innocent stuff. So if you're some sort of asshole, try not to be. But then I went over to the Guitar Center. No, actually, I went to the Dollar Tree next to the Guitar Center first to get toiletries. I didn't bring a razor or shaving cream. And I was the only gringo in there, and that probably had been in there in a while. And I mean, it was chaos, dude. But I was able to get all my stuff, and the girl smart, good-looking girl at the, speaking Spanish with everybody, I got up there, she went right into English. You could tell she's a smart girl. Young, in her early 20s probably, but I was somewhat impressed by that, that if she doesn't end up having 6 kids before she's 24, she'll probably have a good, successful life. But anyway, I mean, that was just kind of all those things I was thinking. I'm like, this is a smart girl. So then I went over to Guitar Center, and they had some Martin ukuleles that I had looked at before, and they were laminate. They, not all natural wood. And they were like $350 or something, and they didn't even stay in tune. They have the tension tuners, which is the old kind that go out the back, and there's a screw down the middle. But like you tune them up, and you can feel the tuner undoing, because they're not geared like most modern ones. And I'm like, for $350, I'm not doing it. And they had a beautiful little, like, 3 mini Yamaha guitar for like $69. I mean, awesome. Just would have been perfect. But you couldn't take it out of the store until January 6th because it was used. I guess it's an ordinance, to see if it was stolen. So but then they had a new Yamaha mini 3/4 nylon string for $169. I ended up going with that, which is a quality guitar, stays in tune, and 3/4 size. Dude, what are you doing, sweetheart? And so I went with that, but I didn't come with a case. And I ended up just bringing that home without a case. On the first flight, they put it in a little cubby hole up at the front. And the second flight, I just brought it back to my seat, and I ended up getting an overhead with nothing else in it. So I was able to put it up there and not worry about it. I'd show you, but it's in my car. But that was great, just to have a guitar to play. And like I said, I was thinking an ukulele, being in San Diego. I know that, the Pacific Islander influence is strong, so I thought they might have a better selection. And it was somewhat, like I said, they had those Martins I was looking at, but they're crap. They don't stay in tune. I mean, you can tighten up the tuner, but it's just a bad, overly simplistic. I'd show you. I have one, an actual Kamaka from made 1969 that does have those type of tuners, but it's also not easily accessible right now. So that was good. So that was nice. So then I spent that night. That was Thursday when we got in there about noontime. Left Fort Myers 7:20. Got there at noon because of the time change. Stop over in St. Louis, and then yeah. No, I went for a walk down on the water. And I'll tell you, the view out of the room, I'll put videos up, but there's an aircraft carrier out there, a couple Army ships. Then right around the corner, I couldn't see from my hotel room, but the USS Midway from World War II was over there, and it had Christmas lights all over it, and all like jets and stuff on the top. It's an aircraft carrier, all in helicopters with lights on it. And I went for a nice walk. It was actually a pretty long walk out my hotel. There was like a marina right there, and then you go up, and there was like a bunch of shops and restaurants, mostly restaurants up around and he took a right and went down to the Midway. And just got a couple slices of pizza. I went downtown, got a couple slices of pizza. And then, oh yeah, I never ate. There was a place I wanted to go to, Tacos El Frank. I never went there. And then that was at about 6 o'clock. And then around 9 o'clock, I went down and got 2 more slices of pizza at that place down on the pier. And then Friday, we went to the San Diego Zoo, which is pretty cool, pretty wild. It's built like on all these hills. If you ever been to California, it's all steep hills. The LA, Southern Cal, kind of the whole state. And they build everywhere. There's houses like the mudslides are just a part of life, really. You can't expect, no matter how much you do to secure shit. But anyway, the zoo is like that. And they actually have a tramway, one of those old school amusement park. You sit in it, and I guess it's a tramway, you call it. And you go over, and the drop off into the middle of the valley there is just spectacular, and there was a nice bridge next to it that was outside the park, but it was like, aqueduct shaped and just beautiful. But it's a trek, you go down, and there's all these separate lands, like Arctic and, desert. And so it was a lot of walking, and my back was hurting me so much. Like, walking was difficult. But I stayed there all day, and it got dark, and I went back to my car right when it was getting dark and smoked a joint, and then went back in for the Christmas lights. But the Christmas lights were kind of disappointing because they're actual animals there, and they don't want to freak them out. It wasn't like they have to be cognizant of that. And I saw everything. I didn't see the tiger. I didn't go down by the tiger until after dark. So there was a hat I was going to get, but San Diego Zoo was the only one I liked, had a tiger on it. But since I didn't see the tiger, I couldn't get it. I didn't see the ape either, did I? But I got a hat with an ape. I got like one of those straw hats, which I needed to wear all day because of this. So that I got kind of when I first went in there. And then I bought this shirt here. This was their Christmas shirt. And of course, they say Happy Holidays because it's California. But still pretty cool. And then I got a normal shirt that was on sale with a capybara, and it says San Diego Zoo, established like 1969 or something like that. And that was, I went to REI, and here's what happened. So at our hotel right on the water, if you put in San Diego Zoo, there's a zoo. The zoo is just kind of outside of downtown, or like north part of downtown. But there was an REI I wanted to go to, which is just north of that zoo. And I wanted to get some sunglasses because I bought some sunglasses at the Dollar Tree for $1.50. But then I'm thinking I can't be walking around thinking these are actually safe when, there's probably no UV protection. Right? So I went and went to REI, and I ended up buying a orange bandana, which came in handy as a handkerchief, and sunglasses, and Smokey the Bear sweatshirt, which was on sale, but still like $30. And then if you put in San Diego Zoo at the REI, there's another San Diego Zoo, but it's like San Diego Zoo and Wildlife Park, where I think they have rides and stuff. And I had driven past the San Diego Zoo, like on a nice parkway, and it was above me and stuff, like off, the road was like between 2 foothills, pretty steep, but grassy, kind of like Boston's Franklin Park, which is where my area I'm from. But just nice and grassy and well kept, and I'm like, oh, I'll be coming back. I think I was filming at the time, and I was like, oh, I'll be coming back here. So anyway, I put in San Diego Zoo when I'm in the REI parking lot, and another one pops up, and I knew it was another one. Like, it wasn't the one that, and then I look at the free pass I have, and it said Wildlife Park and Safari or something like that, and it matched. I'm like, maybe that's the one I'm supposed to go to. So I drove all the way up there. It was in like Escondido. And I get there and they ask for like $20 to park. And I'm like, wow, what's the deal with that? Can I use my company Amex? And so I called my boss, the Florida manager, and he's like, no, it's not at that park. So I had to drive back to the other one. So I ended up getting there at noon, and I didn't have my pass in the morning, so I ended up like calling all my managers at like 7 in the morning trying to get, because I'm like, I wanted to be there, open at 9. And by the time I finished with the REI and the mistake, because it was like 45 minutes up there, I got there at like noon. But I stayed till like 7. Then I got back to the hotel, and I was going to go to the Casbah, is kind of like the paradise of San Diego, which is the rock club in Boston, and to see Ziggy Shuffledust and the Spiders from Mars. And it was like the guys, they're like a regular, long-time David Bowie tribute band. But I was dead. I laid down in the bed and woke up at like 1 a.m. and went back to bed. So, yeah, Friday night was a bust. And I was like, I could have gone there, but I would have been like falling asleep and like struggling. So I just felt like shit because of my back. Like standing and walking was difficult. And then Saturday, went to the meet and greet, met the owner of the company, shook his hand, and had like from the razor, the brand new razor that I got in San Isidro Dollar Tree. Ended up having a cut on my chin, and I went to shake the hand of the second guy who joined the company, Ahmed. And it started bleeding, like so bad, one of those just tiny ones, but on your face, it was like dripping. And I had my brand new Rain Spooner Christmas 2025 shirt on. I didn't get any on that, but it was still kind of, I had to leave because it just wouldn't stop. Which was cool, because then here was the whole crux of the weekend for me. Well, actually, no, there was 2. But I researched what music, and I came up with that Ziggy Shuffledust, and I wanted to go to that. But the bigger one was Slack Key Ohana. And they have their own they have a website, and they've won several Nahoku awards, which is the Hawaiian Emmys, Grammys or whatever. And they actually have an album that Billy Gibbons was on. So anyway, so I'm thinking, and that's at the Land Shark Bar and Grill in the Land Shark Margaritaville Hotel or whatever. So I'm pumped, and it's from 11 to 2. So I get down there at 11 before they even start. They're setting up. And I'm thinking, I was like ready to call from Florida to get reservations. I'm like, this place is going to be packed. I was the only person there for them. And most of the time, the whole area in front of them was empty. There was like a couple people at a couple points throughout the day, but it was essentially just me. And I got to tell you, they were awesome. Their first set, they played like an instrumental version of Hawaii 78, which was written by Israel Kamakawa, who's that huge guy who sings Somewhere. He was actually a big pothead and wrote a lot of important songs. And Hawaii 78 is a song of Hawaiian pride and like, against the white man, and that's, if you've ever heard it, it's like a spoken word part. Like, what would our ancestors say if they saw all these hotels and shit? But they just did an instrumental version, and it was I was fried, first of all. And then they did a couple originals, which were just awesome, that aren't even on an album yet. And then, I talked to them. They took their break, and I went over and, introduced myself. And it's an actual family, a mother and father, and their son, who did most of the singing and played he had a steel guitar in front of him and a guitar he played. And his mother played ukulele, and his dad played keyboards and like bass at the same time with the keyboards. And they were just super nice. I ended up buying all the CDs and a t-shirt. And on the website, it would have been 50 to 60. But he's like, how about $50? I'm like, I'll give you 60. Because it was that good. I'm like, $10 for the... But then I go on, when I just got home today, I wanted to see about his dad. Because his dad, now get this, his dad's over there, and he looks like George Jetson with glasses. Like, that square head, the parted hairstyle. His dad played at Woodstock. He was in Sha Na Na. He played keyboards for Sha Na Na for 2 years at the Woodstock show. He actually sang a song, Teenager in Love, but it's not in the movie. He sang the lead on that. But how about that? Like the way just the world and it all ties in, and Sha Na Na of all the bands. It's not like he was in keyboards for Santana or something. But in college he was in a band with the guy who founded Sha Na Na. So he was always peripherally involved with them. So that was fascinating. And that it ends up being Sha Na Na, is it right? Joe Whitkin was his name. Is his name. And his son's Brian, and he was super nice and writes some good tunes. And he has a style. But I'm like, you mind me filming everything? He's like, no, film away. So I'll be putting up some of their songs. I'm going to put up that original first. It's called Under the Moonlight. I'm possibly going to play that. But there's a lot of Hawaiian lyrics and English ones. I'm actually going to try and send him an email and see if he'll send me the lyrics. Because in this circumstance, I'm going to be like, hey, I'm the guy who was the only guy there for you guys at the show at the Land Shark last week. Any chance you could send me the lyrics to Under the Moonlight? I want to play that tune. But just awesome background. The way they utilized the background vocals was really just fun. And they were outstanding. I stayed there till the end, from 11 to 2, and enjoyed every minute of it. That was awesome. And then, what did I do the rest of Saturday? Oh, that was the company Christmas party was Saturday. That was a big affair, man. Great steak, like the thick, what's that, filet mignon or whatever? Great. The steak was outstanding, Just all around classy thing. We had, the 3 owners did there's 3 guys. And they did their speeches and thank yous, and they started giving away raffles and tickets. They had like these golden eagles you could find scattered around the property. I didn't look for any, but it was mostly for the kids. But they gave away to find the big gold eagle. It was $5,000 they gave you, and the guy who found the second sized one was $1,000 cash. So pretty good. I still wouldn't have spent time doing that, but I might have looked behind a few things a little more. But so that was nice. But again, I felt great. But then I sat down, and by the time all the speeches and dinner was done, I went to get up, and I walked out of there like in a sea. Like, I'm hurting, man. I need to start doing yoga, and I need to lose more weight. I've lost a good amount of weight with this job, being outside and working physical, but I'm beat up, man. I didn't think I worked that hard. I've always had physical jobs, but, and the cabling, you're pulling cable, but, I haven't been digging holes, thankfully. But, the first thing I did do for this company was dig a new hole for the mailbox, but that was the only one I've dug. And I will say I did a great job. The mailbox looks great. It could have been tilted, straight as an arrow. So that was that. And then the big thing, and it was good anyways. I got out of there around 9:30. And then I went to, I got up at like 4:30 or something, and I drove all the way up from San Diego to Disneyland. Never been, had to go. I'm a pass holder here in Florida, and I love the history of Disney and Walt Disney, and I don't really have any affiliation. I remember seeing like Aladdin and stuff in Toy Story, the first one or something, in the theaters with my girlfriend at the time. But that'd be about the end of it. And it was Robin Williams was in Aladdin, so that was an appeal. But that was about the end of it as far as seeing anything new. I might have seen Lion King was maybe the last one. I did just go and see the live-action Lilo and Stitch because it had a strong Hawaiian theme. And I hadn't been to the movies and had my popcorn in a while, so. It's the only movie I've seen in like the last 3 or 4 years, so. But so I get up to Disneyland and I get there, one of the first people. But the parking, you'd have to take a shuttle to go to the park, you know. Could have walked it, but so I got there and I was there for rope drop. You know, they let you in and then you can walk down Main Street and then they have it closed off to go to the rest of the park. And I was there for that. And then I it was the most expensive ticket because they have tiered pricing. You know, like early November you pay maybe $100. I had to pay $224 for December 21st. But that's when I was there, man. And my hotel and my plane flight were paid for by somebody else. So, and then I bought the Lightning Lane thing to skip the line, which was because I was there early enough that I got to ride. The Matterhorn was the first thing I went on, and that was a trip. Very old, but it was pretty good. And I didn't have to use a Lightning Lane. I did use the Lightning Lane, I think, for Space Mountain and one other thing, and that was it. I had it for the Haunted Mansion, but I ended up waiting in line because I was ready to leave by 8 o'clock. I ended up getting out of there around 9. Because I had to get up. My flight was 6:20 a.m. the next day. So by the time I got home, I stopped at In-N-Out on the way home, got my burger there. And I think I was in San Clemente when I did that. And got home about 12:30 and got up at about 3:30. Had to throw away like 10 joints. I bought two packs of 5, like they come in a glass jar, and then I bought like 2 that came in a sealed. They were like infused, and then I bought 2 other single ones, and I smoked maybe 4 out of the whatever that total was. And I thought about throwing them in if I checked my bag, although I wasn't even thinking about checking my bag till I got to the airport. So I threw them away. And I was thinking, oh, leave them in the hotel room or leave them in the rental. No, because if I found it, I'd be psyched. But a lot of people would be like, oh, we found drugs in the car or something. I don't know. Even though it's legal there. But so anyway, hopefully somebody finds those, but probably not. But Disneyland was interesting. You know, the Space Mountain was cool. And I got to say, it's like the It's a Small World was awesome. The outside's all lit up and there's a lot done there. And the inside, it's not as spread out. It's a little more compact, but there seemed to be more going on and it was more interesting. And they had a holiday theme going that they don't do in Florida. Like they add a bunch of Christmas related stuff to the whole thing and a lot of it. And they actually do It's a Small World After All, Jingle Bell, and like interwove and Jingle Bells into It's a Small World. It was good. And in fact, that's the only one I went on twice. I used a Lightning Lane for that later. I wanted to go on it wasn't a big thing, the Indiana Jones ride. They actually have a ride there. I don't know what it is, if it's a roller coaster or what. But at like 10 in the morning, the first Lightning Lane was like 10 at night. And I'm like, I could have waited in line. It was only 45 minutes. But I ended up, again, all the walking. I was kind of beat by like 7 o'clock. So I went back on It's a Small World. And then I went over to the haunted house. I had a 9:55 Lightning Lane for the haunted house. But I got in line at like 8:30 and ended up getting on that. And I didn't like that. They do a Christmas layover. Or what do they call it? Not layover, obviously. But they just retheme it for Christmas, but it was all on the Nightmare Before Christmas, which I've never seen. I know the characters enough from going to Disney so much and shit, but I don't know. I would have liked to have seen the original, you know. Like they change out, like the guy at the cemetery, which I don't know. It's all pretty much the same setup as the Florida one. But where that guy's standing with the lantern with the dog, they have like that Jack Skellington, you know, so they actually take shit out and put other. It was good enough, you know, it wasn't horrible, but I just would like to see the original. But, you know, I knew that they did that and it is Christmas, so it's not kind of like being like, fuck, what the fuck with that one. I'm just like, yeah. But I'll tell you, Pirates of the Caribbean, there's like a 10-minute you're in the boat where it's just a lot longer. then when there's 2 drops, and then when you finally go down the last drop, it's kind of the same ride. But even that's a little bit. There's a couple added things there where the guys are running around. There was a couple more of those, I think. That was mainly the only difference there. But the pre thing, there was quite a bit more. The ride into it was quite a bit longer, which is nice because it's just fun once you're sitting in the boat, being immersed in their make-believe world. It's kind of fun. And that's one of the all-time classics, Pirates of the Caribbean. So I like that. Space Mountain was a little different. It seemed to go a little faster too, and you sit side by side with people. I was by myself, but and I took the monorail. The monorail is kind of weird. You get on the monorail, and it goes outside the park, and it brings you over to downtown Disney with no stops in between. So I just rode a round trip. I'm trying to think what else I went on. I rode Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, which is just your basic amusement park ride. Same with there's like a Pinocchio ride where you sit in the cart and it's like go through the doors thing. And then of course I bought like a Disneyland Christmas. It's written in like candy canes and stuff. And then I got a sweatshirt. It said Disneyland, a nice hooded one, Mickey Mouse on it, Disneyland. And then I got a t-shirt. It said Disneyland with Donald Duck on it. And I think I got, I think that's it, huh? And a hat. A retro hat said Disneyland, like a 60s style golf hat, sort of. And that I bought when I first went in. I got the Disneyland Christmas one and the hat because I needed a hat again. I didn't want to wear my San Diego Zoo one to Disneyland. So all told, the solid 6 t-shirts, 2 Christmas, the Slack Keohana, the San Diego Zoo regular one, and I'm trying to think if I got another one at Disneyland. I don't think I did. But that was good. That completed, that was just, that threw it all together. Oh, you know what? I think I'll make a separate video and attach it to this and put it at the front. But just to follow up, there was a fairly channel I watched pretty regularly called Adam the Woo, and he put out daily videos. He lived up in Celebration, but he grew up in like Kissimmee, St. Cloud area. He's from like Ohio. He moved there, but when he spent his formative years there. And he was a little weird, all tattooed. He was a fanboy, one of those guys who and there's a group of them. So he'd go to like the mall where they filmed the scene from Back to the Future, and there'd be like 10 of them or 15 of these people. There was a lot of weird guys like this, but he was one of the original vloggers, and he made so much money that he was starting to do internet. He could go he'd be flying places every other day. And he bought a house in Celebration, which was the Disney founded town. And he's 51 years old. And there's another channel called German in Venice, who's kind of this heavy German guy, and he lives in Venice, California. But he actually is here in Florida, and he was due to hang out with Adam the Woo today or yesterday, whenever it happened. And he showed up at his house, and he wasn't answering the door, and he borrowed a ladder and looked in the window, and he was passed out or out dead on the bed, I guess. And yeah, he's dead. Pretty fucked. I liked some of it more than other. Like when he would go to Disney World, he knew a lot of the history. And he had passes, and he'd go to Disneyland, and he'd be back and forth. He'd do all those Halloween Horror Nights. I'd never watched that shit, but when he went to Disney, he was pretty good, and he had a fun voice, and he'd always say at the beginning, he'd have some drawn-out intro, and he'd be like, "Will you go along with me? Shall you?" Or something he'd say. And he had a deep, hey, what are you doing? They actually know how to open the door. I woke up last week. I forget what day, but the door's wide open to my RV, and 4 of my 5 cats are outside. And one of them I couldn't get, Angie, the girl. Lola, the long-haired tortoiseshell, she was inside. I don't know if she'd been in or out. The other 3 boys kind of came running pretty quick. Billy, the oldest, and then Zigaboo was right there, and Donald more or less came over. But Angie wouldn't come in, and I had to go to work, and I came back at 5 and finally was able to grab her. And she fucking stuck her claws in me. You know, it looked like a snake bite on my arm. But she kind of wanted to go in, but she's not she's not a snuggler. You can't really hold her or anything. So picking her up was a danger. But here's beautiful Lola. And she is my girl. She's beautiful. Look at those eyes.